Section 3, Title and Escrow. Last video we covered Section 2, which was discussing the finance. We saw a whole bunch of jobs that the buyer suddenly had to do to work and play well with the lender and get the loan application going. And now we're going to go into the unsung heroes of the entire transaction, the title and escrow people. This is going to be a relatively long one because I get quite in depth on it. I also get into some of the history of why we do the things that we do. I worked for a title company starting in 95, 96 or so. It was a part-time job or a temporary job. I was a dispatch driver. And ironically enough, I realized I'm wearing exactly the same kind of shirt that they made me wear back in the day. I had to wear a white shirt. The company I worked for, Associated Title, actually had a shirt service. So we'd come in every week and pick up 5 shirts, and then we'd throw them on and look clean and presentable. One of the problems was I had just gotten out of the Marine Corps at the time, so I started growing my hair out. And at a certain point, I had hair down past my shoulders, and I'm driving a Toyota Tercel around Salt Lake City back in the day, running loan documents and deeds and whatnot back and forth between all the various offices and title, and delivering them out to some places, commission checks and whatnot. And that is something I never got away from. I mean, I can't tell you the last transaction where I didn't wind up having to run something across town, just like the good old days. But it's just that was my entry-level job working for a title company. From then, I went on and went on to First American Title, started working for Fatco back in the day in the IT department. And during that, I got, some other spots over at Associated. I was over in Title for a little bit. First American is over in escrow for a little bit. So I know how this sausage gets made. So this is why we're going to go into a lot of detail on this for a very short, less than a page worth of instructions. All right. So let's take a look what the contract says. First thing the contract does is it calls out in Section 3A who the escrow company is going to be. This is supposedly supposed to be a buyer's choice. All right, the buyer has a choice of escrow company. In reality, a lot of the times the seller has already started work on title work, especially if it's a probate or an estate sale. And because they already have title open, it's just easier to go with whoever the seller's title company that they're working with is. Some sellers will be really, real adamant they want to use their escrow company because of whatever they already got going over there. Sometimes one party or the other will have some sort of association with the escrow company. But this is normally called out in the contract. The buyer's agent is going to be writing down. Most buyers or sellers don't have a favorite escrow company, but all real estate agents do. I like to use it that this is your home field advantage. All right, if you have a relationship with an escrow officer, you want to be using her, especially because their communication is good. Their problem-solving skills are good. When I just got started as a real estate agent, since I had all this experience in title and escrow, working for a title company, and more importantly, drinking with escrow officers and title officers after work, I knew what to look for in a good title officer and a good escrow officer. So I went out and interviewed a lot of people and just met with them and whatnot, and came up with people that I really like. And that's why I use Heather King at Equity Title. This is a free advertisement. Heather is awesome. She's been with me from the beginning. I go back to her every time I possibly can. And if you're a real estate agent looking for a decent escrow officer, get a hold of Heather King over at Equity Title. She is awesome. All right. Non-paid advertisement later. Let's continue on. All right. Once the title is open, escrow is open, you're going to send the earnest money check over to escrow. I myself like to hand deliver it, especially if I don't know the escrow officer. I like to get eyeballs on them, maybe have a little introductory talk. This used to be really, really easy to do a couple of years ago, and then the last couple of years it's like nobody has time to talk to anybody. So I'm going in there, I'm walking in there with a copy of the contract, my earnest money check. Hi, I'd like to talk to the escrow officer. Oh, she's busy. And you are? Well, somebody who's probably not going to be using you again after this transaction, but every once in a while you do get a really good escrow officer who knows her stuff, and it will take that extra time to meet with you. You can let them know about any potential issues that could be coming up, and the good ones will take that time because they know that little investment of time talking to the real estate agents at the beginning of the transaction will save us days of heartache later on. All right. So agents, if you're a escrow officer doesn't pick up the phone when you call, go find yourself another one like Heather. So once title is open, they're going to have the title plant start running a title report. All right. They're also going to send you over, and let's go through this contractually. All right. First thing is first, title investing. The buyer is going to take title as determined before close of escrow. All right. And title is the way your position goes on the deed. Next part that we got going on is the title commitment and title insurance. All right. Title commitment is a document that is created by the title department of the escrow company. Some people get confused because we use title company, escrow company. Some companies are called so and so in title. Some places are called so and so in escrow. It's all pretty much the same thing, but it's two separate jobs, right? The title commitment side of it and the title insurance is the title department, and your title officer is going to research the property in hand. They're going to go through and discover whether or not there's any liens on the property, whether or not the owner of the property is actually the true owner of the property, and whatnot. And they're going to make a title commitment. It's going to be a document, also known as a prelim, which is going to come out and say, hey, yeah, here's the property, and this is the loan amount, or the loan that's still on the property that needs to be paid off for title to get transferred. And then they kick that over to escrow, and the escrow assistant is going to sit there and I just said escrow assistant because she's the one who's really going to do all the work, right? The escrow officer is handling stuff, but it's really the escrow assistant that's going to be calling for the payoffs. Some of the bigger companies have entire departments that do nothing but clear files and handle all the payoffs and everything like that. So, but they're going to call and find out, okay, XYZ bank, you have a lien on the property for X amount, what's the payoff if we close on this date? Right? So that's their main thing on this, right? And the reason for this is so you can issue what's called title insurance. And it's a title insurance policy, not to be confused with home insurance, right, that protects either the buyer or the seller from any problems that come up. And more importantly, it protects the lender. And it sounds weird, but the lender is not going to loan money on a property that may eventually disappear underneath them and their lien goes nowhere. So we finished the first two parts of section 3. All right, we've discussed title and how you're taking title, and now we've gone into what the title officers actually do in the background, researching the property, making sure there isn't any liens out there, and we've kicked off a whole bunch of instructions to escrow. Escrow is going to be coming in the next couple sections here under additional. They're going to be looking for tax prorations. That's your property taxes that come in on the property. Our taxes are paid in arrears here in Arizona. That means that you don't pay the taxes up front, then live in the house. They send you the bill after a certain amount of time has gone by. And if you're really close into a certain time period, like right now, it's August, the taxes for the first half of the year 2021 are about to come due. You're about to get a tax notice in the mail saying, hey, it's time to pay taxes. And to be honest, homeowners don't get this directly. 9 times out of 10, it's going to the lender that you've been paying your mortgage on, because they want to make sure those taxes get paid and that you're not paying the taxes. Next thing you know, you lose title of the property, because taxes actually do take first position above any loan liens. So, but if you're not in the house, if you're not living in that property when the tax bill comes due, the money's got to come from somewhere. So escrow's going to sit there and go, hey, you've been in the property for 252 days at $7 a day. They're going to multiply that all and take it all out on the seller side. So this line, 3E, paragraph 3E in here, is giving them the right to do that. All right. They're also going to wind up calling HOAs, making sure that what the payoffs are going to be to the HOA. They're going to prorate any assessments or fees that are coming down, or deal with any assessment liens if you're a special assessment. And the last thing in there, and I'm sort of skipping around on this, is they're the ones who get to release the earnest money in case there's a breach. Right. Ultimately, the decision falls down on them. Now, they don't like making that decision. They will go way out of their way to not actually cut the check to the seller if the seller is deserving of the check. But you can get it quite simply by going to them, proving them the documentation that the buyer is in breach, right? And showing them line, this paragraph 3F, lines 144 to 148. Hey, that earnest money now belongs to the seller. And then they'll cut the check over to that. And that's paragraph right there, 3F, is what gives them the right and the power to disperse the earnest money as they see fit if there is a breach, or it just gets added to the buyer's side as a credit, and the buyer gets to use it in their purchasing. So this is section 3. This covers title and escrow. I could go on much, much longer about all the hard work that title and escrow does. People do not know who these guys are. They're working in the backgrounds. Your interaction, if you have any interaction, is usually with the escrow officer or one of the escrow's assistants. But it's those title guys in the background who are doing the research. It's the IT departments, right, making sure that the lights are staying on. It's the file room clerks, which was one of my greatest and favorite jobs back in the day, is maintaining over 500,000 files in 3 different locations and being able to pull them up at any one time. A whole bunch of infrastructure, a whole bunch of stuff that happens on the side, and they're doing the hard work, and this is the section that gives them the job to do that. So next week when we cover off on this thing, we're going to be going into disclosure. This is where the seller is telling the buyer about the property, so the buyer's not buying a lemon. This is where all of the seller's responsibility starts really coming into play here, the things that they have to do during the middle of the closing. All right, and we're going to start that off next week with the spuds. So thank you very much for watching this part, and have a great day.